the next episode.
Yo, I'm Devin Reed, and I'm on a mission to build a bigger and more inspired career as a marketer, creator, and entrepreneur. After 10 years in sales and marketing and leading content for billion-dollar SaaS startups, I know one thing: learning from the best will help me reach my potential. Let's ride. That's why I'm traveling America for unfiltered, street-level conversations about creativity, marketing, and playing by your own rules. This season, we're in Las Vegas because the theme is betting on yourself and taking creative risks, because the biggest wins of my career came from the all-in moments that others called crazy. Are you ready? This is Read Between the Lines, the show for people who want to achieve phenomenal results. Are you struggling to get executive buy-in on your bold marketing ideas? Most teams are, and not because the ideas aren't good, but because risk feels, well, dangerous. So today, we're bringing on two marketers who are done playing it safe: Adam McQueen and Grayson Ottenbreit from Klue. Adam went from sports journalism and sales to SaaS marketing, and Grayson went from a creative director at an agency before jumping into B2B. Now, they're co-pilots of one of the most original content strategies in the game. In this episode of Read Between the Lines, we dive into why creative freedom is part of Klue's culture and how they earned it, what it really takes to launch big marketing bets, and a deep dive behind their content strategy that I'm a massive fan of. Let's just say it's rare for B2B marketing to be this entertaining and this effective. Oh, and by the way, they had no idea they were about to be on the show. It was a complete surprise. More on that in a second. Are you ready? Let's ride. Shout out to our sponsor, Goldcast. They are the B2B video content platform. They know that video is the most effective medium for engaging audiences and building long-lasting brand relationships. And they do more than just host amazing digital events. They recently released Content Lab, which is an AI-powered video tool that I use to turn long-form content into branded clips in minutes, not hours. And it's cool because you can use your digital event footage or upload video files. To open your account, go to goldcast.io or hit the link in the show notes. Now, on to the show. Well, let's start with the fact that you guys had no idea you were going to be on the show until about 12 hours ago.
Yeah, surprised to say the least when you see Devin, when you think you see a driver in an airport and you start filming
Slash
it.
hitman.
Slash hitman. Yeah, hat, brim, glasses, COVID mask on. Your bosses said, "You're going somewhere. I'm not going to tell you where." I almost dropped my bag.
And fear. Vegas.
Yeah, exactly. They can take me out to the middle of the desert, dig up a hole, I'm gone. But what a surprise.
Yeah.
Stoked to be here.
Well, what a surprise. And what a prize to have you here. So the theme of this season is taking bets, betting on yourself, creative risks. And so I thought, what better way to start the season than to shoot my shot with your CEO. And so what happened was I was starting to plan out the season. And I was like, who do I want to talk to? Now, giving you your flowers openly, it was you two were first on my list. And so I was like, I got to get Adam and Grayson out here. But I want to completely surprise them. And I don't know why. There's really no reason. We don't know each other well enough to probably do it. So I DM'd your CEO, Jason. I slid in the DMs pretty hard. I was pretty aggressive. I sent a 3.5-minute voicemail. That was not very good. And basically pitched the idea of like, hey, I respect Klue's marketing. I like Adam and Grayson. I want them on the show. Can you cover T&E? But when they get here, I'll cover everything, and we'll do. And by the way, I want it to be a complete surprise. Let me know if that's cool or like not so cool. And here's his response, which I thought was kind of legendary.
Pull it up.
So within 4 hours, which is pretty impressive.
That's a good turnaround for
Jason, let's
go. That's better than he gets with me on Slack.
God, if I was dating Jason, I'd be very proud of how quickly he responded to me.
So this was 2 months ago from roughly today. He says, Devin, much mutual respect from Klue to you. This is the single most nut bar, hairball content schemes I've heard of. So many things could go sideways. No risk-advertent, venture-backed, enterprise-focused CEO in their right mind would greenlight this. I'm in.
Fuck it,
100%, let's go.
Thank you, Jason.
Thank you.
So I was like, I knew I liked you guys, and I knew I liked Klue. And the fact that the CEO responded so quickly and so like all in really shows that there is a culture of creativity at Klue. So where does that come from?
Well, I mean, if I can speak on my behalf, I think like as cheesy as it sounds, I feel like it's a top-down thing. Like there's a lot of space. I mean, every week we have on Fridays, it's like a whole company-wide thing where people are sharing half-baked ideas, some things that never get to see the light of day, some things that are like pretty much complete. Like every time we film a new piece of content, we premiere it to everyone there, gets everyone hyped up. So like the following week we can post it. So like that's weekly. So It's pretty impressive to see like the open floor and the space given to people to just show like, hey, I'm working on this. It might suck. It might fail. And Jason's there every time. Every executive's there. So I think it's like seriously a top-down thing. I
know this is something that like comes up a lot, like a CEO that gets marketing.
Yeah.
And that's like I joke with you last night, like I feel like a homeschooled kid because some people are like, I've dealt with the CEO that didn't get it or wanted to see ROI right away. And like, I've just been blessed when I came into Klue when we were like maybe 35, 40 people, like early marketing hire, like Jason was just like, here's like, he really like had trust in Katie, like my boss, and was like, I believe in whatever you're going to do. And it sort of like sets the tone, right? Of like, rather than like, no one wants to be micromanaged or have every step of like whatever they're working on, especially in marketing as a creative process, like inspected like with a magnifying glass. It's like, we're looking for this outcome. You go figure out the best way to get to that outcome. And I think that's kind of how stuff's kind of started there.
Totally.
I had the same thing when I was at Gone because we also had a CEO that got marketing and a CMO that took bets. And so I had the same thing when people reach out and I was kind of like, I don't have that issue until I went to another company and then I was like, oh, so this is what marketing is usually like for 99% of everyone. So when you guys joined, was it kind of like immediate, you had a long leash, or like how did you earn that creative freedom?
So I'll tell my story. Like I came in to Klue, the marketing team. I knew nothing about marketing. I kind of stumbled ass backwards from journalism. Katie took a shot on me, whatever. And we get there and I don't know what to do with content or marketing. And I remember getting the Google sheet of keywords, search volume, rankings. And it's like, this is what we're doing for like our content right now. And I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to write some terrible blogs. And I wrote some trash blogs, like so bad. I'm writing on a subject matter, competitive intelligence. I know nothing about, no like source material, nothing. And I'm just putting like terrible work out into the world for the first couple months of my job. And I still don't know what I'm doing. And there was this moment with Katie where she like was talking to me and she just said, Adam, like you should interview people more. You're really good at asking questions and you're really curious. That's what I think your superpower is. And it's kind of ironic that I didn't think of that coming from like a journalism school. I was like, I don't know anything about this subject matter right now, but like I got to go out. And like that's how we started when I was the one-man show of our Rinky Dink podcast of just interviewing our customers, learning from people that were like the best in the biz. And like I think that like creativity came from just like my boss seeing where my potential was and like pushing me to that way, and then it started to unlock. And I'll say a second thing because we're on Devin's show. Like that was one thing to push me that way. The second thing was like I always look for like benchmarks for good, even in my like sporting career, even with like friends that I like admire. Like I always like to see like what good looks like, or because I think that's kind of like a farce in marketing that every idea comes from scratch, or do you need to be precious and like. Once you see what good looks like out there, I remember, again, doing marketing, I took a HubSpot course with SEO. Like my eyes couldn't stay open. I didn't know what I was doing, but I had the certification. Yeah. Anyways, I get into this start of the Klue job, and this is when the Gong rocket ship's taken off and what you're doing. And Jason would call out stuff like, look what Gong's doing. And it was just like, open my mind to be like, oh, this is what my career could look like. Oh, so cool. The stuff you were doing with like Gong Labs and data, things you were doing with video, like going into this brand of like showing the human side, bringing like humor to your audience. And it was like, oh, like there's a whole world of possibilities that open up. So that was just sort of like the nexus for like my boss, like pushing me to think different and then seeing what different looked like. And those two things, like I always think back to, was just kind of like the starting point for a lot of the marketing strategy.
That's rad, man. That's very cool.
Yeah, I think like for me, like when I saw I was hired at Klue in like 2021. So a couple years ago, 23 years ago. Been there for quite a while. But I'm kind of a vet. Anyways, the job posting, I just come out of university, and I was a property manager for a year just to stay afloat. It was ridiculous. I shouldn't be managing anyone's property, but it was the first like marketing related job because I went to school for marketing. But the job posting, which I think obviously you wrote, was like I'd never seen a job posting like that. It was like, we're looking for funny, we want to film video. It was like so stand out from any other like marketing job. Everyone's like, you have to like have 25% in SEO and like all of these like really jargony words. But you guys were just like, we want someone funny. We want someone who's like willing to like try to make different type of like video content. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Yeah. So I knew like from the jump that this job was going to be like, okay, we're going to try to be creative. It's not like this hit your metrics KPI at all costs kind of thing. So it was really refreshing to see that after going through like 70 job applications. So yeah.
I got to tell the story now. I got to tell my like hiring Grayson story because this is like my first.
I was going to ask anyway. I had to.
This is my first ever professional, and this is another thing with creativity is when you bring great people on. And one of the biggest things I've learned, you're over there, so this is gonna be weird saying it, but like one of the biggest things you can do, or the best things you can do in your career, is hire someone exceptional.
For sure.
And so when Grayson came in and like took stuff to another level too, like that's like fuel to the fire as well. So it starts top down, but then people you bring in level it up. But as it relates to the Grayson hire, so first ever professional hire, entry-level social media. So you're getting a wide swath of candidates from a varying quality level, and we're still really scrappy startup. So if I look back now, like my hiring process, working with a talent team, I'm like, this is chaotic. And I remember it was Friday after that all hands meeting you were mentioned, and I'm chaos. I've gone through so many bad interviews, and I'm like, we have our interview in about 10 minutes. And I'm like, shit. So anyway, it was like 5-10 minutes before the call. I pull up the resume. I'm like, I don't care about a resume. Like, cool, you got your marketing degree. Don't care. Go to portfolio. And there's just a series of videos. And you know in the video in your Google files, like 0014 MOV or whatever, there's no naming, there's no labeling. It's just like 20 videos. I'm like what the all right, let's see.
I would have guessed you had really weird, zany titles, like words where you're like, what? And you click it and that word actually doesn't even appear in the video.
yeah. There's a little Easter egg. So I click on one literally right before our interview, and it turns out Grayson did sketch comedy with his high school buddy, and it's a scene of him doing his property management job, and he's just sitting back on a rocking chair, just picking his nose, like the deep in there, going deep to the brain. And then his like boss comes in with like a really important person, freaks out, doing the classic like Grayson's like kind of stumbling, bumbling, like goes to shake his hand, and just a booger wipes onto the guy's hand, and then you just have this moment of just like awkward, just the most cringeworthy, awkward, and I am pissing my pants laughing. Then that's just the only context I have before our interview. Get right on, and he's like all nervous, being all professional, and I'm like, dude, I just saw you go like second knuckle deep into your nose, like you're hired.
Yeah.
And then
it's yours to lose.
When he started, the first thing I remember, you were sitting next to me, and Jason comes by and goes, "Oh, you're the booger guy."
Yeah, I was like, whoa. Hello, sir. Nice to meet you.
So that was
you like lick your hand real quick.
Trying to wipe. Oh, sorry, my bad. Trying to wipe a booger off of it. Yeah, that was that's what you put in your portfolio, folks. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. My portfolio was made up purely of skits that I had made. I had no like prior like social media thing, so I was just hoping that someone was gonna like it. They were all ridiculous. I'm just glad that was the one you watched because there's other ones in there that
bombed.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to though. That comes with the territory.
Yeah.
When you're taking, we call it creative risks or just big ideas, it's like you know, like even great stand-up comedians. Mm-hmm. By the time you see their special, it's all the hits. Mm-hmm. But if you ever go to like the small comedy clubs, you see some jokes that just crickets.
Yeah.
And so you have to be okay saying, you know what, to get the big laughs, I'm okay getting a few crickets here and there. And like no one bats, like it's kind of cliche, but no one bats 1,000 on funny videos.
Yeah,
it just doesn't happen.
It's like getting reps, man. Actually, there's one mantra we sometimes say too, and it's kind of like freeing. Is like nobody cares.
Yeah,
nobody cares. Like when you put out bad stuff, like people have they're preoccupied. They have their own world whatever. They're not fretting over like your post that flop, whatever. They're just on to the next thing. And so it's kind of like a freeing kind of mindset, I think, to have too.
Yeah, like I feel like we always think that if we post something and then we have to post like a version of it again or whatever, I'm like, oh, everyone's gonna remember we posted it. This is embarrassing. What are we doing? Like we shouldn't. It's like no one. I've never remembered like, oh, they posted that a month ago. What are they doing posting that again? They're out of content ideas. It's like we're supposed to like. No one really cares. Like it's just like have a little fun with it and.
Well, you guys market to marketers, and so when they see the post again, if they even see it again, and if they remember it, they're probably just like, oh yeah, that's because it did well. So they're recycling.
Yeah, yeah.
And I do it all the time. If a video hits, why would I only show it once? I've got LinkedIn posts I've literally copied and pasted text 6 times over 3 years.
Yeah.
Just let it run. It's like reruns of like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Friends. It's like, yo, they replay it for a reason.
Yeah.
People like it and people will watch it again or share it. So it's like, yeah, there's no shame in that.
I think you do a good job of like, I've seen posts where I'm like, oh, it's the same like POV, it's the same like idea, but just packaged slightly differently. And I think that's like a big skill to have because sometimes I feel like I'm always like, oh, are they going to know? But like you did it in a good way that I think is like very natural. So
well, and people will be like, oh, is it, because I work with CEOs on their LinkedIn. And after a couple months, like, I feel like I'm being kind of repetitive or saying similar things. And I'm like, correct. That's like kind of the goal. And it's like, how many POVs do you expect? Like how many points of view can you have? And it's like, if you sell competitive intelligence or what have you, it's like there's only so much room in that lane. Doesn't make sense to go outside of it just for the sake of diversifying the content, you know?
And simplicity sticks, man. Like simplicity sticks. And so like having a single point of view or a very simplified message, and like I've come to appreciate a ton working with product marketing. Like I think we market to product marketers, but having product marketing that can guide us with like put guardrails on us with like really tight messaging, then we can go nuts on creativity. And that's all anchored in like a really simple and like succinct point of view. And I remember hitting you up on a newsletter where you wrote about that, like, what is your point of view? And I remember we didn't have a product market at the time. I'm like, we need this more. Like sometimes when I feel like I'm thrashing or our creative ideas aren't landing with Katie, it's like, oh, it's because it wasn't anchored in that.
So that's something I really have admired and noticed is, so there's what I call edutainment content. I did not make that up, but edutainment, right? So it's educational and entertaining. And you guys do a great job of that. But what I've also noticed is a lot of companies will over-index on the entertaining. And so you watch their video or whatever type of content, and you may like it, but you don't know what they do.
Yeah,
like they miss the educational aspect in terms of even just like awareness of what the company actually does. And we were kind of teasing like the Hot Ones remakes are a great example of that, where it's like you might get views because it's funny to watch people struggle with hot sauce, but it's like if at the end of the video I don't know what you do and sell, it's kind of like, yeah, you got attention, but you didn't convert it into growth or, audience or anything like that. But you guys have done a great job. And we'll dive into examples in a little bit, but where every single one, I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. That's what they do. It's super clear who you sell to, what you offer, problems you solve. And then you wrap it around in like funny, entertaining, outrageous things. Yeah. And so that twofold approach, I think works really well for you guys. And it's something not a lot of people, I think, have kind of like mastered.
I think that's like somewhat, not like somewhat recently, but that's something that we like, when we first started to make skits, because like right out of the gate when I joined, like the plan was like we're making skits, we're making funny stuff, because that was like part of the job posting, and we got a lot of like attention for some of the skits and funny things we were doing, but there wasn't a whole lot of bridging the gap between what Klue does and like the entertaining, like you're saying. And that's something that we have been like incorporating more and more. So that wasn't like right off the bat. We kind of like got the laughs first and realized that like laughs are good, but it's not the be all end all. There has to be like a relatability, and that came with time. But like, yeah, it's more of a challenge, but it feels better. Like I feel like the feedback you get from your customers or your IC, whoever you're selling to, is a lot more strong when they can actually see that.
Right.
Like, yeah, I mean,
we'll maybe sit on some of the Klueless stuff, but that was like the most rewarding thing I felt as well, seeing that.
Let's get into Klueless. Forget the story arc that I wrote and shared. Let's get into Klueless. So for those who are unfamiliar, Klueless with a K is a mini movie that you guys made. I think it's like 17, 18 minutes long. 17. Let me describe it, then correct me, because I think it would be fun for like your audience and a fan to tell you how I perceived it. So I would say it is the best parody of The Office, the TV show The Office, that I've seen. And basically what it is Grayson is a
fucking an idiot sales rep, but like,
Whoa.
that's what you play.
No,
that's what you
Jay.
play because you're good at acting.
What kind of podcast is this?
But that's what makes it funny. So you're following your character, and you're basically going around in the show The Office style, struggling to get a deal across. You work with your product marketer, you end up getting the deal, and they're like, there's a nice resolution at the end. So someone had sent it to me, not you guys, had sent it to me that day, and it was like, oh, because it's you two, I'm gonna literally like, open up a window, I'll minimize it for my workday, and then later I'm gonna come back to it. I have said that sentence in my head no less than 10,000 times, and I almost never go back to that window. Where it sits there all week, and then Friday when I close the laptop, I'm like, well, but didn't make it to this one, just exit out. But I watched your guys, so I remember I put my kids down for bed. I go back into my room, and instead of having the TV on, I opened up my laptop, and I was like, I actually want to watch this. And so I click play, and about a minute in, I pause it, and I grab my wife, Shali. I'm like, you got to watch this with me. You got to come check this out. And so we watched it together. I'm laughing. I'm taking notes because, again, there's pockets where you'd earned my attention with the laughs and the relatability, and you almost falling out of your chair and all these funny things. And then at around, 9, 12 minutes, somewhere in there, there's this pocket of like, oh, and now they're like pitching, but it doesn't feel like a pitch. It's just explaining what they do. And you've earned the right, for this kind of 30-second spot of like, okay, like jokes aside for a sec, like we are a tech company and this is what we do. But it didn't break the fluidity or the tone, which I think is really hard to do. So I'm like, man, that's fine. It's brilliant. Then it kind of goes back into like more funny land, but you guys, wove it together. And then Charlie liked it so much, I think she DM'd you and was like, we loved it. And so from that time on, when people ask me, hey, Dev, who in B2B or what B2B companies are like killing it in marketing, like Klue is the number one answer that I give.
Thank you. Yeah,
it's also an example of just like, there's probably a lot of stuff we've done that isn't as good, but the one thing that's memorable like sticks in people's minds too. So it's kind of cool to like hear that.
Yeah, that's very.
Well, it's like we talk about SNL, and we watch Saturday Night Live quite a bit, and there's definitely episodes that I think kind of suck. Like they just don't. I don't laugh. At least for me, I didn't laugh. I didn't think it's good. But because there are some great skits and some great episodes, as a fan, you're okay with like, it can't always be a banger.
Yeah.
So even for you guys, though I haven't personally seen anything like I didn't like, though I'm sure, as you said, it's out there. I just didn't see it.
It's there. It's somewhere.
If I see it, I'm not like, wow, these guys are lame. And then I like mentally unsubscribe or actually unsubscribe. It's like, oh, all right, they took a swing. I'm cool. You tried, and we'll wait. I'm waiting for the next one.
Yeah.
And I think when you said you started with laughs first, I would actually recommend starting with laughs first and then introducing product, because the alternative is let's start with product and educational stuff that realistically 95% of your market does not care about. And so now you're like educating, but educating who?
Yeah.
And then later you're like, okay, let's try to figure out how to be funny. And then it gets really forced. You've seen people who are like, like, hey, they probably see your videos and they're like, let's do stuff like that. But it's not in their DNA. It's not in their culture. They don't have the talent. And so it feels really forced. And so I like that approach, and I would actually recommend that to people. Is like, consider starting on a more entertaining, relatable level, and then introduce product.
We were literally just talking about this, like the brand, like quote unquote brand switch between going from funny or like going from silly or whatever to now educating is a lot less harsh of educating. Like, like you said, it seems forced. Like if people know you as funny, then like you keep saying, you've earned the ability to go, here's what we do. But if you're just like educating, you're like, now we're silly. People are like, yeah, but you're not, that's not who you are at your core.
Right.
It's not really your brand. I don't recognize you as that. And I feel like it feels a lot more drastic of a change going that way versus the other way. So I totally
100%.
agree.
I also think like when like there's such a battle for like attention now, like this attention economy is like not only just funny, I think like relatability too. So we've talked a bunch too, like when you can get really creative is like find an example of good out there and put a spin on it. And a lot of our like maybe ad concepts is like, let's go with something that people know. And like feel like, oh, they have that mental of like, oh, like for example, we did an ad which was like kind of a mock, like the sit down of like a Netflix documentary, when every Netflix doc now starts up when they're like filming before they film, or the people getting mic'd up, sitting down, like check. And we like went with that immediately and had like serious vibes. And like people immediately like, oh, this is like some documentary style thing. And then you could deliver like one or two jokes. Like we didn't go too overboard there, but then you like hit with the message, like finding those, or like with Klueless is like immediately, even through the way that we like kind of shot it, the camera, like, oh, this is going to be like The Office, right? And so you find those kind of things that people can connect to as well. And then you kind of you've earned more trust as well that way, I think.
I have realized that a lot of marketers, if not most in B2B, don't have a creative process, or they don't know what their creative process is, right? So how do you come up with ideas? How do you, build out and refine that idea? How do you pitch that idea? And then ultimately, how do you produce the thing, whatever form it takes? Yeah. So I want to know, how do you guys go from, wouldn't it be funny if ... to actually publishing some of this content? Like, what did that look like for Klue?
Well, for Klueless, I think, like, to Adam's point earlier about like finding places like for inspiration, Air Inc. I don't know if you follow Air Inc. at all. They do like their digital asset management. They do fantastic.
I have heard. Yeah, I've heard of them.
They just like won a Webby for a thing with the Rizzler. But
I saw that. I saw Vin post about that. I didn't know that was them.
This is insane. 2025. That's a sentence.
I need to Google that, I think. How do I spell it?
But they did kind of like a short film. So we saw them do that, and we were like, that's incredible. So it wasn't like, we have tons of examples of places where we've taken inspiration. It's like we would be remiss if we said that it was like all our idea, but we thought that's like something really funny to do. Never seen someone do that before. So that was like how it began. The impetus was like seeing someone do it, seeing it's possible.
Right.
So we both watched it and talked about it. And then kind of one Friday, or one Thursday in the office.
No, it was a Friday for sure.
Yeah, it was a Friday.
100% a Friday.
We were just like, we were looking at it and we're like, why can't we do this? Like, let's just do this. And that very moment, like, struck while the iron was hot, and we sat there. And I think like part of our creative process is me and him work really well at the beginning, and like he's very good at the beginning of like throwing stuff at like the whiteboard and sticking. So I was just sitting there on my computer, and he was coming up with scenes, like moments that could happen. So he really took on that, like, and that's why in the credits it's like story by both you and I, because you were just like, boom, this moment can happen, this moment can happen, this moment can happen. And like we hadn't built any of the characters yet. All we had was like, we wanted kind of a dumb AE. So that's all we kind of knew. And we were just like, this is a moment, this is a moment, this is a moment. That was kind of like the brainstorming process. And then I went and took it and I wrote the script. And then once I finished the script, I hand it back to Adam. He makes some checks and marks. And then at that point, that's when we kind of take it to someone like Katie and go, hey, what do you think about this? So we didn't really get like a whole lot of like green light early on, because we felt like it was worth exploring first. And then like once we pass it to Katie, she can see what's possible. She can see the vision and go like, oh, I really like this. Here's maybe we need to incorporate more product, stuff like that. So that was like really fulfilling and like super seamless process, honestly.
Yeah, sometimes I think the one thing that, man, all facets of life, minimize the gap from inspiration to action. When you have that inspiration, move. Like in anything, it's like when you wake up, should I go to the gym? Just do it. Don't even think about it. Like I love that kind of mantra, but I'd say on the like Katie Greenlight front too, I think she like always like we've built enough trust to have like creative liberties, but I think as well when you can share it or articulate like how does this fit into our strategy, and some of the context as well, like on my end was we had our first ever conference in person coming up in about 3 months. And so I'm in charge of programming. And my least favorite part of my job is event programming and coming up with the content for programming.
Bro, +1.
It is painful because there's just, I don't even want to open this can of worms. It'll become a therapy session. I'll have to put the feed up too. So
it's okay, Adam. It's okay.
God, get that therapeutic place. Yeah. So I was working with, like, you kind of go through CS, what are customer pain points, who are really good customers we want on stage, what are some of the topics, your typical, like how to do X, Y, Z. Here's the keynote where we're going to have our presentation. And I was just like, I had so much self-loathing putting together this Google sheet of just session. I'm like, we're in person. This is boring. I'm bored. If I'm bored, I can't fake it. They're going to be bored. And at the same time, like we'd been just kind of randomly kind of going back and forth of this, just like, oh, what did they do with this like movie documentary? It was 15 minutes. Like, what a wild thing. And then it just kind of came to me was like, what if we premiered this at the in-person conference? And that's the thing we like close with. And so I kind of shared that to Grayson. Like, finally we have, like, we always have ideas, but it's like, where does it fit into what we're like, a lot of the things we're doing from a campaign perspective, what we've already committed to, how do we fit that into what the broader marketing team's looking to accomplish? And so like, then it was like, okay, we've kind of put this like jigsaw piece. Now let's just cook on scenes. And again, with Katie, like as soon as I shared that with her, she's like, I trust you on whatever you're going to make. But she's like, oh shit, you're going to premiere this at the conference? I'm so in. Like, I'm so in.
Yeah.
And that was the most like rewarding experience, was getting to, we did like promo beforehand, but then we premiered it live in front of like 150 customers.
Yeah.
And that might be to our first point when we were chatting about like edutainment, was like, yeah, there's hilarious scenes. Like I still cackle every time I think of the scene of you hitting the vape outside or like going like this outside, like literally outside of our office.
Yeah.
But there were so many moments and I knew they were coming. So I was so excited of like where the customer felt seen. And specifically like our customer base, like when we think of like a message or like relatability, the thing that we knew we could play on is sales marketing tension.
Right.
And specifically for our one, like product marketers helping sellers against competitors, and sellers just be like, I need this, I need that, I need this. And it's like, we can play the damn hits there.
Yeah.
And there was so many moments where customers came up to you, came up to us afterwards, like, were you sitting in my meeting room? Like, I've had this before. Like, I am like, shivers up my spine kind of thing. And that moment of them feeling seen was
like I remember
wild.
distinctly, it's very rare to get like to have the opportunity to show something in person. Like working on social media, like you just put something out there, you have no idea how people are reacting to it. You just see a like, you see a view, you see an impression. So getting to see that actual like in-person feedback was really cool. I've never had that in my life. I've never premiered anything. So I have a distinct memory of, I'll shout out Elise Knuckles. She's the best, but I was kind of behind her, and there was a scene where I was like yelling something at the product marketer, and she like threw her head back and was like, yes. Like it was like it could see like she was reliving a moment.
it's like sweet relief for her. It's like,
and so to get that, like, and also like you said, like getting feedback from people saying like, I felt, a lot of the comments we got were I felt seen, and I've never had that, and that was really cool to be like, oh, we hit like a note there. We like we resonated beyond just like this is funny, and like I still get CSMs like to this day that'll be like, yo, like my champion was like, yo, I love Klueless. Like that was like it's super cool to see like customers still talk about it. So
especially when you have like we have 0 day in the life in this world. And I actually, that's one thing I always appreciate when you were doing your gonks. I was like always a little bit jealous. So I'm like, damn, he's a salesperson turned marketer. Like he's got the cheat code already. He can talk their language. And I'm like sitting there writing my crappy SEO blogs, like, so competitive intelligence gathering. It's like, that's trash.
Webster defines.
Yeah. But sorry, I was gonna just say one thing on the creative when you say like we get creative liberties and like sometimes there's pushback. This was one where we kind of shared a little bit of concept. We usually like don't share everything, but Jason, our CEO, was nervous with this. He's like, especially we're in person, we got big customers there. Like you don't want to piss people off or go over the line. Like saying like there's a lot of going over the line in the movie, and he was like scared shitless about what was gonna happen, and he still like he was loving it, but he still didn't know what to think after it aired, even though everyone's in hysterics. And one of our like biggest customers, right in front of Grayson, just came up and was like, "That was the best thing I've seen."
Let's go.
And Jason's like, "Okay, all right, fine." And he carte blanche now, so who knows what's
But
next.
have you guys experienced that too, where when you have the finished product, right, and you're looking at it and you're like, all right, before I go publish this, you're kind of nervous because like this is either going to be an absolute banger or it might fall totally flat. Like my vision, I think it's funny or I see it, but will they see it and will it translate? I feel like those are the best outcomes. Yeah. Most of the time they're hits. And the few times where if it doesn't, I wouldn't even say flop, maybe it just doesn't hit that, it didn't hit as hard as I'd hoped. You learn from that as well. And so it's like, even still, I tell folks like getting comfortable hitting publish. Yep. You got to get more comfortable with it because like we were saying earlier, you're not going to get a hit every single time. Have you guys experienced that too?
Like of something flopping?
No, or just the concept of being nervous. Like, I don't know. Like Jason saw it and he had to have in his heart or somewhere be like, this is funny and this is good. But there's a lot of risk if it doesn't because he's got all his biggest customers there. But he went for it anyway, which I respect. So I'm just wondering, like, have you guys had that same feeling of like, shit, I don't know?
I was actually slightly nervous with Klueless because we were like laying into sales. Like, luckily, sales, I think, out of all of the departments, can take the biggest joke, and they love making fun of themselves. It's almost like an algorithm for sales. Corporate bro, like the list goes on. So I was a bit nervous. I'm like, are we going a little too hard into sales? And like I think the funny thing about Klueless that like which really worked was the protagonist wasn't our customer. The protagonist of our story was sales. So we were like, we were focusing on sales, and then the person that was helping was product marketing. They only had a couple scenes, but like that was our way of showing how product marketing helps. But we were showing a lot of me yelling at product marketing, saying, "You're like you're obsolete. I don't care. Like shut up."
Dismissing them and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like kind of playing that line of like, are we making fun of our customer a bit too much? But so there was a bit of trepidation there. But I think, other than that, I can't really think of anything that was maybe too nervous.
I saw it as a common enemy a little bit, like an adversary, but like not a real enemy. Just kind of like, oh yeah, that's part of the game. Being in-house marketers, you got these types of sales reps.
Yeah,
and then I think again, having been a sales rep, I was laughing because I was like, I have done or seen everything you've done. I've seen it. Like it's real. And so I was like, if someone's offended, it's almost like you might not have liked that you were teased, but it's not that it was unfair or out of bounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I even remember actually when we cast the product marketer, and that was really important for us. It was like, how do we do the product marketer? And we went to Alex and we're like, you're Jim from The Office. You're looking into the camera because you're going to be looking at 100 product marketers. They need to feel seen with you. And she friggin' crushed it. Honestly, also we didn't even mention like all the people on that were Klue employees.
Yeah.
That was no actors. So like Alex, Kala, Katie, Darian kills it. Like all of these people just like supremely talented and like buy in on this stuff too, which is like really cool. Like I think it's like exemplifies like the culture.
You could tell their employees not in a bad way. It was like it made it real. It made it feel like these are like our people, my people. Versus when you see basically you say a commercial. I just had a slip, and I think that's why when you see actors on behalf of a SaaS company, you're like, oh, this is a commercial. They're doing the marketing thing to me. You guys, I would say like you guys make videos, or you make content. You know what I mean about with the people that you're representing and that like your own audience. And I think that's like a very big. It's like a superpower.
When you've done stuff in the past, like at Gong, because obviously like making videos and stuff, have you had to use employees like casting that way? Like if you're doing like a quicker like run and gun shoot? Only
and always. I think I don't think I've ever hired an actor.
Okay, yeah.
So Gong I wasn't part so when we did the Super Bowl commercial, I wasn't part of that because we hired a guy who like later we got teased was people corporate bro got mad because he thought that the guy we casted looked like him too much. But I was like, dude, it's just a white dude in blue jeans and a blue blazer. That's like millions of people.
I'm sorry, you're the same as millions of people.
So I thought
the culture is not your costume.
So I thought that was funny. And I didn't even see it. Like I saw the commercial and then later I didn't see it like, oh, Udi got a guy like corporate bro. I just was like, that's just some dude I've seen 1,000 times. You know what I mean? So I thought that was funny. But I have always done not actors, normal people. And I was like, I went to Amsterdam and we were at Unmuted office, which is an agency out there ran by Max. And we did 2 videos with the same thing, like all employees. Yeah. So I wrote the script and I was like to Jonas, their head of content, I'm like, who can hit this line?
Yeah.
Who can hit this line? Or who can give this facial expression? Because like the scene, sometimes the scene is just, quick head shake. And everyone was an employee. And it turns out great. And I think that lack of perfection in acting is what makes these actually better. Like that little lack of polish, you know what I mean?
Totally.
I'd say, actually, I got a question for Grayson. I think when you were asking, like, I think the starting point was like creative process. And we've talked about, there's a lot of different ways that we've made different things. And obviously we're sharing Klueless because that was probably our biggest hit. And there's a lot of different ways. But I think the next part from like tactical execution is, that's where it's made, right? Anyone can have a bunch of ideas. And you need to have that like seamlessness okay, now how does this get put into scripting? How do we review that scripting? And then one thing that I think I'd love to hear from your perspective is producing shooting. Like how are you coordinating the scenes? How are you thinking about like nailing the moments with different actors, and how do you like navigate that when you're producing that?
Yeah, it's a good question because like as you're talking about using employees, I think like one of my favorite moments of doing these things is like when you realize the person that you've picked is like actually good at acting, and you're like, holy shit, where did this come from? Oh my god! Yeah. You're like blown away, and like you're like clapping at the end. You're like, cut. Amazing. But I think like a lot of it comes down to like we actually spend a lot of time in like production going like, okay, for example, Klueless, like there was a shot list, like there was like a plan, like 15 minutes each shot. Like we try to keep it organized. So when we were when I was like looking at casting, I was like spent like a decent amount. I think like when we were doing project management, I spent like 2 weeks trying to figure out who would be the best. And like through, I mean, you've been on the other end of me being like, okay, do that a little bit this way, do that a little bit that way.
Oh, dude, he's so
Director
good at it. Though.
Grayson comes out. How are you? Are you relentless? Like, are you kind of like, yo, I know how it needs to be.
Relentlessly positive.
Oh, that's great.
He'll go, that's fantastic. Let's just do it one more time though. Yeah, like honestly, love that. But like, just try this, and just keeps the. It doesn't let you stop. Doesn't let you stop to think or be like, what am I doing in front of this camera? What's going on?
Yeah.
Like he just.
I think that's strong though. So I do a similar thing because I do like if I have that vision in my head, like the look has to look a certain way or whatever. I do the same thing where I'm like, yes, but a little more. But I think if you give people time, they think about it too much, or they'll get in their head, and then you almost get like the baseball, you get like the yips, and it's like you can't actually just say the one sentence.
Yeah.
So I think it's smart to just kind of stay on people because they're not professional actors.
No, they're not supposed to. That's not what they're hired. She's like, Alex is a talent person, and like she just put like it was amazing. But yeah, I think I shroud that sucked and great. Let's do it again. Like, that's a good way of like reframing that sucked. So
is there any? Is this just within your director and other things in life? You're just packaging it up, put it down. Great, keep it moving.
Wait, now that I think about it, you've been very complimentary to me.
You've been doing great. You've been doing fantastic.
There's also just like building the plumbing. Is like I always say it too with this creative process. I think it's like the shooting was like pretty quick and seamless. Like, yeah, you had it organized out like really well. And then it's like after the fact, like, do you have like your systems in place? We're like working with the editors, like how are you getting this cut up? What's your distribution plan? Like doing a lot of that work and thinking about that. Like even one thing we did after is like, okay, we premiered it, great, in front of 150 people. We don't have like massive reach. How do we get organic reach? And we were like to the customers, because we were like, these people, we've earned their trust. How do we use these people as a microphone? And then we asked them to, and they actually, one of the customers came up with the idea at the after party that customers would then do a Rotten Tomatoes review of the movie.
That's good.
When we did public release. And then all of our customers, none of them are true like influencers or anything like that, but they're like, yeah, I'm going to share on like this. The first time they posted in a year. And it was, that was a really cool thing. Which is
one of the coolest like knock-on effects of premiering it that we didn't expect was like we premiered it and then we didn't release it for a month after that. So what actually happened is a lot of the people that were there live in person went back to their companies, and like the champions, the customers that were there were like, Klue made this thing. It's really funny. I can't wait for you guys to see it. So in the month between premiering at Compete Week and then releasing, we were getting ping like, when is this coming out? Because my customers like asking for it because like they've been telling their team and like they want to show it at their kickoff. They want to show it at their thing. So that was like a really cool knock-on effect of like that leaving that space for like desire to come in. People like, we want it, we want to see it. So then when it dropped, it was a bit bigger. That was really cool. Yeah.
Actually, I'll shout out Katie too for I think there's having like a leader that's like can push you in the right spots. I remember we did not put together a good enough plan on how to promote it after the fact.
Yeah.
She's like, you've made something money. Like, don't let this slip. Like, go. Like, push on this. And like, it was so it's always cool to kind of get that push from someone that's like slightly on that outside perspective too.
Well, I think too, a couple of things you guys talk about. I think one, having I don't have a better phrase. I don't know that I love thought partner, but like having a writing buddy, whatever you want to call it, wildly underrated. And I 100%. Had that too. Like a lot of times people say, like, oh, because I was on the podcast or I was in the video, people are like, oh, Devin's doing it. And I was like, dude, I had a team.
Yeah.
And I had writing partners or people that I would bounce ideas off of. Because when something's 80% there, but you're too close to it at that point. And you're like, I need another perspective. And the longer you guys work together, you kind of know what you're going to get. Like, you just got to get to this point, kick it to him. You know what you're going to get back to it, an extent. And that helps, I think, one, have more fun in the creative process, but it makes it more effective too, because you've got this like rhythm down, just like playing sports or whatever.
What was your role then in your thought partnership, and who is it with, or who are some of the people on the team?
So, on the zany things, I'd say a lot of times it was probably me kind of leading, but it would be, so I had Jonathan Costet, shout out to him. He was my Grayson, my first hire in my career, and at Gong. He's now the senior director over at Wiz, so he's done well for himself. Yeah, shout out to Jonathan. And so he was like my guy. His background, speaking of coming from non-traditional marketing, he came back from marketing, like I think it was like gambling websites or like casinos or something in Europe. So like he was like kind of his messaging was like, he was scrappy. He kind of had like really direct messaging. He knew like your marketing has to matter. We can't like be playing games. So when I hired him, he would help me workshop like email copy. Dev, this could be sharper. This should be shorter. This story is like kind of missing a key point. Like I think in your head you see the story, but it's not on paper. Okay, cool. Nehal Tanani, my second hire, She would be more on some of the creative ideas where she's like, you know, yeah, you could do it this way, but what if you did it as an old school infomercial? Or, hey, Dev, what if you just like actually were cheesier? I know you don't want to be, but like be a little more over it. Like, so when you have these people, same thing, refining your ideas and validating, because that's super important. Like my ideas are good and they are like worth keeping, but also pushing you and saying, go a little bit more, be a little more emotional. Like it wouldn't, like Gong wasn't just because of me. It was like them, and I obviously hired like a few more folks after. But when you get that pod of creativity, people bouncing ideas, and then the other person knows, hey, if I come up with an idea, I can kick it to Devin or I can kick it to Jonathan, and I will get better. So then we just had like crossfire in the best way, where everyone's just helping each other work, and then I didn't have to be involved. You know, once you're 3-4 employees, I'm like, yo, Grayson, Adam, you two just go figure that out. I don't need it. Come holler if you want me, and if you have a point of which you want me to like give it an approval or whatever. But you don't need me. I don't need to be part of the first, you know, day 0, day 1, day 2.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because now we've got our team. It's a team of 4, and I think about examples now where like you, and then we have a great employee out in Toronto, Nico, as well. And I'm like, you guys go cook on this. Like, he's taking the newsletter to new heights. How does that work into like what you're doing with short form video? And like, it's just like I have that trust of like you two, and however your partnership starts to occur, it's like kind of like a Russian doll of them. Like I trust what you guys are doing with that stuff too.
Yeah.
So there's a few examples of creative content I want to run through. We don't have probably time to talk about all of them.
Okay.
So I'm going to say a few words, and you guys can tell me which one you dive into. Okay. So some fantastic content. There was your VP put out a book called Blind Spots. And you did a kind of interview with, what's his name again? Remind me?
Ryan Sorley.
Ryan, where you put a blindfold on your VP and had a fun kind of game show. That was great. Blind Spots.
Yep.
You have Read, what is it? No, not Read, actually, that's mine. The other one you have.
The other one you have is his own stuff. Right?
Whoops.
Subscribe. Click.
Let's just run that video real fast while we're here.
It's every Sunday.
The other one you have is Between Two Churns.
Yep.
So that's a good one.
Yeah.
And the one I definitely want to, if I can get one in there, is Coffee and Compete, which I know isn't like as quote unquote like funny per se, but it seems to be, I'm going to guess, like a little bit of like the nucleus of a content strategy, because it's like a newsletter, it's a show. Sometimes they end up on YouTube as like actual YouTube videos, not clips. There's kind of a difference. So between we'll say Churns, Blind Spots, and Coffee and Compete. Where should we go?
Let's do Coffee and Compete because it's different.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay. Let's
Churns is like a similar vibe to the like inspo to action.
Yeah.
And then just go roast your co-founder, because why not an hour before their board meeting?
Also, just to clear the space, we did make Between Two Churns, and we filmed it in February, and it was a great time, and we really enjoyed it. And we produced it, super proud of it, very excited. We held on to it, can't wait to promote it. And about a week before we posted, a little person named Devin Reed decides to go and post his version of Between Two Ferns. I was not pissed at all. I'm fine. It's fine. We're all fine.
Code red, Adam. Code red.
That was devastation to my entire life. We woke up on like a Tuesday, a great Tuesday, had a coffee, turn on LinkedIn, boom, Devin Reed's posted the thing we're going to post in a week. I message Adam, I go, cut it, we're never going to post it. I'm too embarrassed. I can't handle it.
Funny.
So I just want to say, we didn't copy, okay? Okay.
Oh, I mean, I copied someone else, so it's like, who am I to be like, oh, really? Like, you're gonna do it too? Because for folks who haven't seen this, Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis is this original interview series. We'll let you YouTube it; it's worth it. I made a version called Read Between Two Ferns with Tass Bober. And what's funny is when we produced it, speaking of time to action, like once we were done shooting it, we were like, Chase, I think, finished editing in like 2 days, and we were like, this is the first thing we're going to drop.
Okay.
So we knew, and because I'm with you, sometimes you want to hang on to it. I was like, no, we got to get this out. I had no idea you guys were cooking in the same kitchen.
I'm not sure about that. We'll check that.
But what's funny was because I liked Klueless, I was so excited to DM it to you two. So when I like posted it, I got busy, but I was like, I'm going to come back and DM you guys, get your opinion, because like, I care what you think. And so insecure. But no, I was like, you'll like this. I'm like, we have the same vibe. And before I think you DM'd me and we're like, dude, this is really good. we just shot
Yeah.
between two churns,
Yeah.
but you didn't like lead on how pissed you were.
Oh, that was just deep. Again, resentment deep down here. Push it down.
Compartmentalize.
It was very good though.
Yeah, well, yours was amazing. So like,
you.
I saw you post it, and I was like, please be bad, please be bad, please be so bad, please be. And then it was really good, and it just made it so much. But yeah, I mean, it all turned like we were saying earlier. No one remembers.
Yeah.
like no one
cares.
you know. So, but hey, congrats! It was really good. I have to give you your flowers.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. That was probably the most well-received funny video, if not my career, like in the last few years,
It was really
for
good.
sure.
It was really good.
But when you have someone just like fastball a fern at your face on camera, like it's kind of, we went all in. I mean, I went in full wardrobe, costume. I was like method acting. Like I was really, I had watched no less than 15 Zach Galifianakis interviews, like writing the jokes and prepping. So I was like, this is going to be my breakout.
Yeah,
This
it
is no, I didn't get into Hollywood, but it got us here.
We're in Vegas.
Yeah, we are in Vegas. We are in Vegas.
But sorry, I derailed. Coffee and Compete.
Coffee and
I'm a happy subscriber. That's how I found it. And I actually reply. I don't know if you used to get them, I think.
I used to get him. Now probably Nico gets him.
Yeah.
And is he leaving you on red? Do we need to have a...
I don't, honestly, I'm not like responding to it. While it's a good one, it's still a corporate like newsletter. So I'm not like, a human being's definitely better get back to me in an hour. I think when I first replied and I got you and I knew you, I was like, oh, cool. If I hit reply, I get to holler at Adam for a sec.
Yeah.
And then I did reply one time and I didn't get you. And I was like, no, but I guess, no offense to whoever responded. I just didn't know you. But I like it because I found it somehow probably online, as always. And so I subscribed. And then I was like, I think then later I actually realized it was a show. And so I think I went on I thought it was a podcast. And then I clicked the podcast and you guys were cool, like Joe Rogan having the video in Spotify, I think it was. Like you guys, I'm teasing about Joe Rogan. He was the first one I saw do that. But so I'm like, whoa, that's cool. Like these guys are really thinking ahead. They're making video first. It's there. I'm like, this is, again, love or hate Joe Rogan or any other these like media podcasts, like that's what the top media brands are doing.
100%.
Their videos on YouTube, their videos in Spotify, you know, it's all this stuff. So I was like, damn, these guys kind of. So then I watch one, and then I'm like, let me jump over to YouTube, and then you guys are doing like legitimate YouTube videos where I see you like Burger King versus McDonald's and like some like crazy expression, and I'm like, dude, these guys are all in. Shout out to the thumbnail game.
Oh,
And
God.
so I'm like, they've got something cooked. Like you have something very intentional. So walk me through Coffee and Compete. Maybe like a quick where did it start, and then you can give me the plumbing, if you will.
Yeah. So I guess where it started was just like literally doing when I was like Team of One had this like podcast competitive enablement show. Fire name, right? Banger name.
Scriptive.
Gosh. And then it was like, okay, how can I repurpose this? I'll do like recaps on a newsletter like that, classic style, whatever. And then the newsletter, I was kind of just stretched too thin. I do it very sporadically, whatever. And then essentially we gave the newsletter an overhaul to Coffee and Compete. And we made these mugs that we take to events, and our customers got them and whatnot. And if they were a guest on the show previous to our full rebrand, they'd get the mug. And it just became like a cool thing that was a little bit like emblematic of the Klue brand beyond like that channel. And then when we had some like, we had Nico come in and I wanted him to take, he was really like newsletter first. I'm like, I kind of left it on the side. It wasn't very good. We would kind of sit with like, what do we want to do with the podcast next? We were like, we need to go more into video, and not just like audio. And then it kind of came to be of like, Coffee and Compete is starting to has like a little bit of brand recognition. What's like what's the core content we can create here, like irrespective of channel? And then how does that just feed every channel? How do we repurpose effectively? And one of the things we've always looked at from our like content strategy is like there's edutainment is like, but like we want it to like newsjack. And the cool thing is we work in Compete, and like it doesn't have to be in the nuts and bolts of competitive intel, but like how are businesses competing with each other? How is Burger King and McDonald's like that's newsjacking where we can reach a broader audience.
Right.
And then we would get like tactical with like sit downs with customers or like more product walkthroughs. And then we'd like bring even like community, like what our customers and community saying. And like that was sort of like what we'd make in Coffee and Compete, and then that feeds now. Nico does a killer job on the newsletter, and that's actually where we're using AI a lot too, is he writes a killer news story on like Benioff roasting Microsoft, and immediately can turn it around to a 60-second script that Grayson can work with, shoot with me there, and like the efficiency just starts to become, it's the cliched flywheel.
I think like something that we talk about a lot, and this is going to be me getting on my soapbox here, but like what he has set up with the newsletter, and what we've kind of like worked on for a while is the newsletter. The newsletter was like a great piece of content, but we had that news story in there, so we're like, okay, we'll make shorts to like amplify that news story in another format, so on video, and then like we'll make the podcast, and there'll be like kind of like a flywheel of like the newsletter feeds the podcast, which then feeds the news story, and then feeds like the video. And I think like a lot of people think, oh, that's great to make content like that, but what we spend a lot of time on is making sure the systems are in place, because when we film the podcast, we're doing 3 clips per episode, and that's a weekly show. And then we're also filming a short about the news story, and then Nico's writing the newsletter. And so there's so many things going out, and that's on top of filming stuff like Klueless, filming product walkthroughs. Like I think we shipped this quarter like 130 video assets.
Wow.
So like that's a lot of video content coming out, and like I think a lot of people can. This is me on my soapbox. Is like a lot of people think like creatives are like they're just like free flowing, whatever. It's like no, we spent a lot of time building out like this like system that can be repeatable. That like, as soon as the content's filmed, you upload to the cloud, send off the editors, get the creative briefs done. We're very like regimented.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people need to be more regimented. Because like if you want to make as much.
Coming from Grayson, I'll be honest, that's pretty shocking to hear. Dude, I believe you, by the way, and I'm giving you a hard time. But I think on your free flowing things, like that is part of the process, but in a certain part of the process. The whole thing can't be willy nilly. Sometimes we do this, sometimes we do that. You're saying is like, look, there's moments to be creative and go wild and throw ideas at the whiteboard, but then there's like, the script has to be done at Tuesday at this time. Nico needs this at this time. And if that is missed, the whole flywheel
falls apart,
stops or falls apart.
And I would even argue if you don't have a system, a regimented system built up, you have less time to do the brainstorming because you're busy trying to catch up with like the constant posts. And we have to post all the time and stay like relevant and keep content going out there. So if you're just like constantly stressed about like how is this video going to get out, you're not going to brainstorm. You don't feel like you're in the right place. Having that system set up allows us more time to do the stuff that we want to do, like think of new ideas, create new stuff.
Grayson's also known as the Notion overlord in our marketing team. Like shout out Alex, like I direct him to manage. She runs a lot of our big campaigns, and she's always like, Grayson, are you judging me? As she's clicking through Notion, and he is, but he suppresses it again. So
walk me through maybe kind of quickly is like, what is the first piece of content that you write? Like, is it a script or a news story? And then what's the next thing? You don't have to go all the way into the mechanics, but I'm just trying to wonder, like, for example, we're starting today on a live interview. That will turn into a couple newsletters. That will come, blah, 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 blah. What is your guys' assembly line, I suppose?
Yeah, it depends. So like we'll do a news story for sure. And then we want something more tactical. And this will be maybe part of our like other content strategy of like, what's the message we want to get out? What is the message? And then we'll come up with different ways we'll create that, whether it's a sit down with Jason about how competitive intel is changing in the AI landscape, or we'll do a sit down with a customer and they're walking through how they're using a Klue product or a new feature. Like we'll choose something that's a bit more, again, earn the trust, not with humor this time, with newsworthiness, and then have something like more tactical. And so those will be created as well, like what we've decided is like our key message. Right. Nico goes and sources that story, writes the story first and foremost in the newsletter, and then we'll like recap something we've probably made on video, so it kind of goes both ways. And then the other person on our team, shout out Jen, who's our community and events manager and customer marketing, we'll include a bunch of stuff that's happening in the community, which are all conversations we're working with our customers on around the key message we've highlighted. So everything makes sense. But I'd say the newsletter is probably like your core piece, right? Like totally. The story goes to you from Nico, and then whatever we're producing elsewhere will make its way into the tactical component. So.
Yeah, and then things can go back into the newsletter to like promote the video that we've like come from the previous one. Like, there's a lot of like.
Well, that's why I love newsletters is you can both. It can be a publication channel, like the story. I'm going to publish this story here for you to read. And it's a distribution channel because 2 sections down might be this video with my CEO that you probably didn't see, but it's related. There's a through line. So I'm going to put that in there for you as well. And I love the newsletter for that reason. Because after a couple times, I'm like, why the fuck do I read this? Like, it's good. Like, why do I like it so much? I'm wondering. And I'm like, because every time the hook is a story and it's trending or news, it's not about Klue.
Yeah.
So even though I'm at the reader, I have no need to buy the software. I constantly read, reply, follow you guys because that first story is always hits. And then I'm always like, oh, I wonder what they're doing. Like, I'm just curious. Okay, what are they doing at the product stuff or other things? And so I'm in like this Klue, sphere. The Klueverse
is what we call it.
I won't say it. Probably because I actually can't pronounce it. But I am in it, and that's why if you think too, like back to like why should we invest in brand content? We're not selling, for example, or we're not promoting our product. Whether it's Devin Reeds of the world or anyone's, like you have a fan who, even though if I don't buy, I tell the people I like your content or I'm talking about Klue. And so it gives you this word of mouth, this positive brand affinity, all off that like one somewhat simple decision, but executed really well.
100%. Actually, as well, newsletter, I think this is one thing when we even look at the pillars of like what our content team is and content community team is like going for. One of the things I've actually like, I took stuff from you. I think you literally like, here are my like KPIs for the year.
Yeah.
And it was just like audience growth. I'm like, hell yeah. So like Grayson's metric that he reports up with me and to Katie is like audience growth. Right. And then Nico does a lot of stuff on pipe gen. And the perfect thing is that there starts to be overlap of like newsletters, the great bridge, right?
Yes.
Because you're growing an audience, but you're actually going to have like more attribution. You can have like harder ads. Like you've got like tons of like companies like advertising in your newsletter. Like it is a place. We're just doing that, but just advertising our own product, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a cool way to sort of bridge the gap with these different channels you choose.
I have a random question, kind of like just your question there, or your point there made me think of it, like talking about like sending like the Klueverse or whatever. Sorry,
we're trying to make it happen.
The Klueverse, I could just keep saying.
You're not the Avengers. Or wait, or are you?
The Infinity Stones, baby. Like when we post something like Between Two Churns or Klueless. Like often I've mentioned this to Adam, is like we have our customers, product marketers, competitive intelligence professionals, etc. But sometimes when we post something like Klueless, which is like this brand play, it talks about our product, but it's really like to just get like a maximize reach. I often think of like LinkedIn has like their different like algorithm like silos, and one of them is like marketers appreciating marketing. And so when we'll post something on Katie, who's our head of marketing. We'll use her channel to like in her account to post something because we want marketers to see it and go, this is cool marketing, because that kind of like gets in the algorithm in a different way. We're not necessarily selling to marketers, but it makes it get out there more. Do you ever like think of it like I'm posting this not for people like in this category, but this to like maybe maximize reach? I'm curious if you think about like
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So at Gong and Clary, we had basically we thought of like a tiered system on social. So we had like execs at the top, or like thought leaders. So at Clary, that'd be like Kyle Coleman or me. Obviously like your CEO and any C-level VP that wants to post, or whatever. So you have your executives at the top, CEO, thought leaders. 2, you have your employees. So that can be your sales team, like Gen Pop, whoever was willing to share.
Yeah.
And then we had the corporate LinkedIn channel. And I think in order, like that's how I would place my bets, because I think you're going to get more reach and all the good stuff, right? So from execs, we were very intentional. Like, okay, the CRO, if we have the same asset, let's say that day we had a big activation, everyone's sharing the same thing, but the CRO has to come at it from a sales executive mindset. Yeah. The CMO has to come up from this angle. The CEO has to come up from a different angle. So we were very intentional. Like we would write posts for these people, and then they can edit it and make it their voice and stuff. But we're definitely thinking of like, what are all the angles and ways you can hit this? Employees obviously are more general because some are in sales. You might have like a sales version because we're sales-led companies. Then you just have like a general one, and then obviously you can do whatever you want on your corporate channel. But that's the way that I've thought about it, because I'm like, if we're going to go all in, like let's go all in. Yeah. Spend another 10 minutes, 20 minutes on copy that will get from 5,000 views to 15,000 views for your CRO. Like I want that extra, I'm not stopping at 98%. I want that extra 2% to get as much as I can.
Yeah. I think I think you've coined this one too. Is it content market fit kind of thing? Or content, and it's like understanding your audience from each channel and what they're like serving. So like, and we've actually noticed too with the LinkedIn algorithm, if everyone's using the same asset, we're noticing that reach goes down.
Oh,
and so how do we like tweak each thing without doing it too much work? And so we know that Jason, when we work with Jason, we do one of the things I actually love that we do with the founder led content with him is we just sit down with him and talk about product, talk about Klue direction. There's a big activation as a product release. We're like, why is Ask Klue badass? Like what's something cool? And he will just share that from his perspective. And then we have him talking, it's authentically him, and then we'll like work with copy with him and get that out there. And then Katie, because she's our VP marketing and she's like a really creative person, well respected in the marketing space, put the creative brand ad that way. And then like with product marketing team, we'll do more like just like quick hit GIFs of the product or the product walkthroughs that we shoot with you to like full employees. And you tailor the asset to the account, which is tied to like your audience. If you're building any account, you have to have your audience in mind too, right?
Yeah. It's I find it like it was such a cool like unlock for me after Klueless, just like seeing like, oh, like Katie's audience doesn't care about competitive intelligence. They care about good marketing. So that asset got out there and like it really hit the algorithm because it was people sharing like, look at this cool thing Klue's done.
Look what we wish we could do.
So it's not really hitting our customer, but like because it's getting more reach, it is hitting more potential customers.
For sure.
It was like a really interesting thing to see like that. I like that, by the way, content market fit. That's cool.
Absolutely. Udi used to say there's only 2 type of people: gone customers and future gone customers.
Oh, that's a bar. That is a bar.
Let's do 2 quick questions. You can each answer, and then we'll wrap.
Great.
Okay, the first one. What's one bold idea that's either in the vault and hasn't had its time to come out yet, or something you're cooking right now that you're excited about?
Okay, this one I'm fired up about. And again, this is a cool one from a creative brainstorm that came from Alex. We were doing just shooting ideas, and she said it, and I was immediately like, that's the idea. And I think this is by the time this comes out, we've either started to release episodes or we've done a bunch of promo for it. And I think the title is still TBD, but Seller Island. So it's going to be a reality show of sellers competing with one another for a buyer, like the scenario that Klue helps support. And we've already been doing brainstorm of like Grayson got when he came back from vacation, it was like all reality TV tropes here, all sale tropes here. And we got salespeople in to give stuff in. And we're going to look to shoot that as things we're learning as well. Like, can we do short form episodes for these that are going to like hook more? We're still deciding if we release episodic or do a bulk, like sort of Netflix style release. And I think we're looking to bring in some like cool talent as well for that potentially. So that's one thing that I'm super stoked for that isn't technically greenlit, but we're in the process.
The thing I'm most excited about that is we're like to his point about short form is like we've never done this before, but like literally just shoot it in like real format. So 3-minute episodes, quick, so people can consume it really quickly. They don't have to go to YouTube to find like the landscape version of it. Just see what it can be like to just film a whole episode in that like phone format. I'm excited to see like how that comes out.
That'd be dope. Yeah. I think too, you could drop all of them on like a site or YouTube, but then promote them as if they were dropping one a week.
Yeah.
Because then you're going to have raving fans. People are going to want the second one right after.
Yeah.
You want to give them that, but you can't post an episode a day probably on LinkedIn to make people get confused. So I think you could rock that way.
That's actually a good point. I didn't think of that. We could just do, boom, write that down now. Someone. One, I'm excited. I mean, it's just a thing I have in the vault, and I've said it to you before. I don't even know where to go with this, but I really like the idea of like, there's some people that do, like Patagonia said, like, don't buy this sweater. And there's people that have done like, I can't remember what company did it, but they're like, don't work for us as like a talent acquisition thing. I've always had this idea of like just opening up an ad with like, this ad is not funny. Like, don't laugh at this ad.
You pitched this one so many times.
I don't know where it goes from there, but I think it would be hilarious. Like, and the meta thing is it's so serious that like it just becomes funny. And I just like the idea of like setting the stages. This ad is funny, not funny. Do not laugh.
What if it was don't win this deal?
Okay, there you go. I like the anti stuff. There's something about the anti marketing that I like.
Well, it's what is it like reverse psychology? If you're like out in public, you're like, no one look at me or don't look at me.
True.
What does everyone do?
Yeah.
Turn around and look at you, right? So it's like, it's the same thing.
I don't have that problem. Everyone's looking at me all the time.
All the time, shining.
I've never had that problem.
All right, final bit of advice for marketers who want to be more bold, who want to be more creative, but are struggling to get buy-in. What would you tell them?
Actually, I have a definite like take here on this. Is like, you have to be really mindful. Again, with marketing, we're talking about your audience. When you're doing internal marketing, understand your audience and what they care about or where their mind's at, and be able to deliver your idea that meets what they're thinking about. So when I said with Klueless with Katie, she cares about running the most killer in-person conference, not us doing tiddlywinks with some ridiculous show. But if we're like, hey, let's put it in and make our kick-ass conference even more, she's like, ding, 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 this works. So I think it's it's not for us to explain every scene of this vision and get everyone on board, because that's where like Grayson's talent lies. But it's giving enough information and the context that stakeholder needs to be on board. And obviously that means that your creative idea needs to be rooted in like your top level strategy. But I found with myself, like that's the thing that I've consistently learned as you're like trying to get sponsorship from like different stakeholders, more budget for stuff. Like that is make or break for people.
Yeah, I like that. I think for me, like a lot of the things we've done, and maybe this isn't the best advice, but
speaking of the anti-marketing,
don't take this
don't
advice.
listen to this advice. Here we go.
But not in the sense that like go publish without anyone greenlighting, but ask for forgiveness later and like create something and make it like build it first and then go, hey, I've done this, rather than ask, can I build this?
Yeah.
And that way, like we like a lot of things we've written them first. We've come up with the idea of like we've fleshed out pretty much the whole thing, and then go, what do you think about this? And sometimes we've actually shot stuff before and go, what do you think about this? So because people are quick to like, or at least not everyone, but people are quick to go like, I don't think that'll work. But if they see that it works, whether or not they like the idea or not, they'll be like, oh, let's do it. So I feel like it's way easier to say something's not going to work and then kibosh it before actually filming it. So I say ask for forgiveness.
We've got a great example of this. Is a good one to end to. So we have 2 floors in our office, and there was one floor that was just the sexiest room downstairs. And we're like, we want to shoot. We want to make this our damn studio. And it's right next to where the execs have their board meeting and stuff. And we're just like kind of half. We're like thinking about. We're like half like, Jason, what do you think if we turn this into a studio? He's like, no, you guys are idiots. Like, not a chance in hell. And we were in this worst room, and to the point of ask for forgiveness, not permission. We just went and did it anyways and made the studio in there. And then we aired like the new rebrand relaunch internally, like we do at the All Hands, of Coffee and Compete. And you've got like the 3-camera set and all of that. And then Jason walks right by us to the office and goes, sometimes you got to ask for forgiveness, not permission. I'm like,
yeah, I just think that like that really it's a way to prove to people that like, your idea works before like asking them to try to conceptualize
back
it.
yourself.
Well, I think it gives confidence too, because like you're so convicted that you either went for it or kind of went against what I said and did it anyway. But it gives other people confidence, like your confidence in yourself makes other people go, well, hey, you might be onto something. And also you're kind of saying like, give people like a little bit of a taste or pilot.
Yeah.
So before you go shoot a video, show them the script, you know, things like that. Cause then you might read script and go, oh, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And you might go, all right, let's go forward, right? It's a smaller jump for people to buy into.
Dude, that's just like an energy thing too, man. Like I've never done sales, but like there's like you bring an energy to the table and people will gravitate to that energy.
Yeah.
Like if you come in like just
Meager.
like someone's pissed in your cereal, everyone's gonna be on edge. If you come in excited, like here's this thing, like whatever that feeling you get when you come up with that creative idea, express that too.
Yeah.
Like let other people in on the excitement or like where your mind's going. Like let people feel that, not just like verbally, like just bring that energy, I guess.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, this is where we have to wrap. And usually I would say goodbye, but we're going to go hang out at Swingers, which is just
that's the YouTube thumbnail.
Devin took us where?
which is not that, though we are in Vegas. It's a mini golf establishment, and I think they've got other games too. So we're going to make some bets. We're going to do a little bit of little gambling between each other on this game. So thank you both for hanging out with me.
This has been
inspired
amazing.
me, taught me, and I know the viewers a lot too. So yeah, if you're listening, if you're watching, let's jump over to Swingers and see what happens.
Let go.
Thank you.
That's a wrap for today. And if you're still listening, you must really crave growth, and I respect that. Here are 3 ways I can help you grow your content right now. First, subscribe to the Reader newsletter. You'll get actionable writing and marketing advice delivered straight to your inbox every Saturday morning. 2, make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube so you get access to new episodes and new videos when they drop. And 3, if you want to sponsor or hire The Reader, you can send me an email at yo@thereader.co. That's yo@thereader.co. And if you're enjoying the show, make sure to drop us a 5-star review. It helps us get new sponsors and grow. I'll see you next time.